Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wright Flyer. This is your captain, Randy Wright speaking, and I want to take this opportunity to personally thank you for choosing to fly the friendly airwaves with us here on our state-of-the-art radio program at Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer. Well, folks, there is a very important topic that I wish to discuss right now, and that is the war that we have on traditional pop culture. And it may seem strange or out of the blue that I would want to talk about this consistent and well-orchestrated attack on our traditional storytelling, our traditional venues and avenues for mass media entertainment. But there is a very important reason that I am going to do so. It's because over the course of the past decade or so, we've watched the gradual and then rapid and succinct decline of the natural story and narrative of pop culture. All of our entertainment has started to decay, and to decay noticeably. So noticeably, in fact, that Hollywood is, in fact, very close to falling over the edge of a precarious cliff into complete and total irrelevancy. Now, the last time Hollywood ever faced anything quite this bad was approximately 101 years ago with the fall of Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, a, ambassador to Hollywood during the time of the silent movie era. He was involved in a scandal in which a young woman who was a bit of a floozy and an extra in a lot of films, who had her own health problems and also had a rather dubious reputation of doing striptease on the movie sets, went to a party hosted by Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle in San Francisco, in which she wound up dying. And it was blamed on Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, attempting to force himself upon her, resulting in his great girth and weight, causing her bladder to rupture, leading to septicemia, and, of course, a grueling and harrowing death. Of course, the problem was that it wasn't true. Fatty Arbuckle didn't sleep with her, and it was a joint action by the San Francisco District Attorney, who was in the midst of an election cycle in which he thought that he could clout chase using this case to show that how hard he was on crime. And this included jury tampering, because Maud Black was one of his paid informants, and another woman who was a close personal friend of his managed to be seated on the jury through some underhanded, corrupt dealings. And when the first trial ended in mistrial, as opposed to a straight declaration of innocence, the studio system had a complete and total meltdown and decided to punish Roscoe by ending his career. He would never appear on the silver screen again. Even though by the third trial he was ultimately found completely and totally without guilt, and the jury even went so far as to take the unprecedented step of providing him with an apology, saying that a great miscarriage of justice had been done. But it didn't matter. Hollywood was set in its ways. It was losing support in the hometowns across America. Small town America saw them as being out of touch, as a den of corrupt vipers who were immoral. Peddling smut and filth is basically how small town America was reacting to them, much like today. Now, the difference between Hollywood of 101 years ago and Hollywood of today is the Hollywood of 101 years ago submitted to the Hays Code, named after Hayes, the former Postmaster General of the United States, in what was an attempt to prevent the censors from acting on them. They decided to become their own censors. It was the start of Code Hollywood, where married couples would sleep in separate beds and morality clauses would be entered into the terms and conditions of any contract of any star who wished to make it big in Tinseltown. Of course, modern Hollywood has their own new code. The code of blaming white people, the code of a critical theory, a code of quote-unquote diversity, which is really anything but. It's New Age discrimination, New Age racism, and it is, to be blunt, New Age communism. Communism is what is driving the decisions now in Tinseltown. Not that the communists and Reds hadn't been doing this for, almost 60 to 75 years, really 100 years. But never to the extent that they're doing it now. To the extent now where they're ready, willing, and able to go out there and brag about the money they're losing. So long as their narrative goes out. And the other thing is they're willing to use bait and switch to achieve their goals. Why? Because I think that they have reached a point now where they can utilize the woke politics. They think that their plan of fundamentally transforming the heart of America has been a success, that it has traversed far enough along now that they can go ahead and just embrace their goals, irrespective of how it's going to hit them in the box office. And you can see it in so many movies. Look at how they keep race swapping, gender swapping, pushing a message at the expense of telling a good story, all to stick it to the evil white man, as they put it. Straight heterosexual people, they don't like them either. It's all part of an agenda. An agenda that they are doubling down on and are pushing as hard as they possibly can because they believe in their heart of hearts that they know what's best. But there's an old adage from any business, and it still applies even in show business. The customer is always right, and you should be listening to the customer. But if you look at the way that entertainment media and journalists cover things, they're ready to throw daggers at the fans. The paying customer is just a rube, somebody to be attacked, somebody to be demonized and vilified at the drop of a hat. Why? Well, the simple and succinct answer is because they view them as part of the problem. They view us as villains. They loathe and despise the very people who allow them to make money. And as a result, they're losing money. And if they think that just putting out bland content is going to save them as they contend with this new streaming market that is taking hold, then they're gravely mistaken. The world doesn't work that way. The markets don't work that way. And newsflash, communism doesn't work. It fails every time. We know that. Anyone with two brain cells that are able to spark and rub together know this. But left-wingers don't. They can't wrap their little minds around it. They are seemingly incapable of doing that. And as a result, they're going to destroy a great many franchises. Now, there'll be a few outliers. That new Spider-Man movie has done well, precisely because it didn't go down the avenue of woke storytelling. It didn't attempt to preach or get into a heavy-handed message that is, a disaster with general audiences. That used to be the norm. That used to be how movies were. However, since the time of 2016, the big wigs in Hollywood have done everything they can to destroy movies and franchises. Look at the new Disney Star Wars and all the crap they've done. Look at how they treated Gina Carano. Look at how they subverted expectations. That's their little catchphrase, little buzzword that they like. And then look at the way that the comic books are pushing everyone being gay. Getting rid of phrases like truth, justice, and the American way. Doing everything they can to vilify the heroes that have been beloved for generation after successive generation. Yes, it has all been intentional and purposeful. But it can't last forever. Eventually, as the money wells dry up, and they are shown over and over again to the point of it reaching ad nauseum that these little twists of theirs don't work, their investors are going to start getting pissed. And when they get pissed enough, they'll start pulling plugs. And when that day happens, well, I think we ought to pop open a bottle of the bubbly and enjoy ourselves. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have a feeling it's going to arrive sooner rather than later, so let's hope for that. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you again next time. Please do, my friends, take care. See you around.